The crystal champagne flute slipped from my fingers in what felt like slow motion. I watched it fall, feeling strangely detached as liquid splashed across their entwined bodies. The chatter of the party faded into a dull hum as my husband Ryan's head snapped up, his eyes widening in recognition. The woman in his arms, Vanessa, my colleague's wife, gasped as the cold champagne soaked through her silk dress. "Eliza?" Ryan's voice cracked with panic. I didn't answer. Instead, I straightened my spine, lifted my chin, and walked away with measured steps that belied the earthquake happening inside me. Behind me, I could hear Ryan calling my name, his voice growing more desperate with each repetition. But I didn't turn around. Not even when I heard the sharp click of heels hurrying after me, followed by a hushed, "Ryan, wait!" I pushed through the crowded ballroom, nodding politely at familiar faces who had no idea that my world had just imploded. When I reached the grand staircase of the Addison Hotel, I descended with deliberate grace, my hand gliding along the polished banister, feeling dozens of curious eyes on my back. Only when I stepped into the cool night air did I allow myself to take a ragged breath. 3 months earlier. "You're overthinking this," Morgan said, perched on the edge of my desk. As the creative director of Walsh & Palmer Advertising, she had a talent for cutting through noise to find clarity. "The Westridge account is yours. Ryan's dinner with them is a formality." I sighed, scanning the layout for the presentation I'd spent 3 weeks perfecting. "I know, but Jessica Westridge specifically requested that he attend." Morgan rolled her eyes. "Because he's charming and everyone loves him. It's good business." She leaned closer, lowering her voice. "But you're the creative genius behind this campaign, and everyone in this office knows it." I nodded, trying to silence the insecurity that had become my unwelcome companion lately. At 36, I'd fought hard for my position as senior creative strategist. My husband Ryan's natural charisma made everything seem effortless for him. Client meetings, networking events, even making friends with the barista at our local coffee shop. Where I calculated my words, he spoke freely. Where I planned, he improvised. We'd met 8 years ago when his financial consulting firm hired our agency. I was assigned to his account, and despite my professional boundaries, I couldn't resist his persistent charm. He proposed 11 months later during a surprise weekend in Napa Valley. The memory still made me smile. Ryan on one knee among the vineyards, sunlight catching in his dark hair, his usually confident voice trembling slightly as he asked me to be his wife. "Earth to Eliza?" Morgan waved her hand in front of my face. "Where'd you go?" "Just thinking about the presentation," I lied, closing my laptop. "I should head home. Ryan and I have tickets to that new play downtown." Morgan smiled. "See? Perfect husband taking you to culture on a Wednesday night." "Stop worrying so much." I nodded, but the knot in my stomach tightened. What Morgan didn't know, what no one knew, was that things with Ryan had changed. Small shifts at first, late nights at the office, distracted conversations, the growing silence between us in bed. Then bigger changes, declined dinner invitations with our friends, his sudden interest in fitness that had him at the gym every morning at 5, the password on his phone that hadn't existed before. When I'd mentioned these changes to my sister Caroline last month, she'd dismissed them immediately. "Ryan adores you," she'd said with absolute certainty. "That man looks at you like you're the answer to every question he's ever had." But that was the thing about appearances. Ryan and I had perfected ours. The play that night was a modern interpretation of a Greek tragedy. I spent 3 hours watching a marriage unravel through betrayal and secrets, while beside me, Ryan checked his phone during every darkened scene change. Afterward, as we walked to the car, I finally gathered my courage. "Are you having an affair?" Ryan stopped so abruptly that a couple behind us nearly collided with his back. He turned to me, his expression a mixture of shock and what looked like genuine hurt. "What?" "Eliza, no, absolutely not." He took my hands in his. "Why would you even ask me that?" Under the warm glow of the street lamps, with his hazel eyes focused intently on mine, I almost believed him. Almost. "You've been distant," I said. Secretive. Something's changed. Ryan's shoulders slumped. He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture I'd found endearing when we first met. I've been stressed about work. The Keller account is falling apart, and if I lose them... He shook his head. I should have talked to you about it. I'm sorry. Relief flooded through me, followed quickly by guilt. Of course it was work. Ryan had been pursuing the Keller account for months. How could I have jumped to such a terrible conclusion? I'm sorry too, I said, squeezing his hands. For assuming the worst. Ryan pulled me into a tight embrace. I love you, Eliza. Only you. That night we made love for the first time in weeks. Afterward, as Ryan slept beside me, I traced the outline of his profile in the dim light filtering through our bedroom curtains and promised myself to be more understanding, more supportive. The next morning, I woke early and made Ryan's favorite breakfast, blueberry pancakes with maple bacon. We ate together at our kitchen island, planning a weekend getaway to reconnect. Ryan suggested Montauk, where we'd spent our first anniversary. The Addison Hotel is hosting their annual charity gala that weekend, I reminded him. We already RSVP'd. Right, he said, his smile faltering slightly. The gala. I forgot. It'll be fun, I assured him. And it's for a good cause. Plus, the Westridges will be there. Good opportunity to schmooze after the dinner meeting. Ryan nodded, but his enthusiasm seemed forced. Sure, perfect. As the weeks passed, things between us improved. Ryan made it home for dinner most nights. We spent a Sunday afternoon biking through the park and had dinner with Caroline and her husband. If Ryan still checked his phone more often than before, if he still disappeared to the gym every morning, I chose not to fixate on it. Relationships ebbed and flowed. We were finding our way back to each other. The night before the gala, Ryan came home with a large garment bag. What's this? I asked as he hung it carefully in our closet. A surprise, he said, kissing my cheek. I saw it in the window at Bergdorf's and knew it would be perfect on you. Inside was a midnight blue gown with delicate silver beading along the neckline. It was exactly my style, elegant without being ostentatious. Ryan, it's beautiful, I whispered, holding it against me. He smiled, looking pleased with himself. You deserve beautiful things, Eliza. The next morning, I woke to find Ryan's side of the bed empty. A note on his pillow read, Early meeting. See you at the gala tonight. Can't wait to see you in that dress. Love you. The day passed in a blur of preparation. I had my hair done in an updo, applied my makeup with extra care, and slipped into the midnight blue gown, which fit perfectly. When I stepped out of our bedroom, Caroline, who had come over to get ready with me, gasped. Wow, sis. Ryan is going to swallow his tongue when he sees you. I smiled, smoothing my hands over the silky fabric. That's the plan. We arrived at the Addison Hotel just after 8. The grand ballroom had been transformed into an enchanted garden, with cascading flowers and twinkling lights creating a magical atmosphere. I scanned the crowd for Ryan, who had texted earlier saying he would meet me there. Eliza! Caroline! Jessica Westridge approached, elegant in a crimson gown. You both look stunning. After exchanging pleasantries, I asked casually, Have you seen Ryan? We were supposed to meet here. Jessica's perfect eyebrows drew together slightly. I haven't, but I did see Vanessa Grant heading toward the terrace a few minutes ago. Maybe he's out there? I know they've been working together on the charity auction. A small alarm bell rang in my head. Vanessa Grant, the gorgeous, newly divorced wife of Ryan's colleague, Daniel. I'd met her a few times at company functions and had always felt a subtle unease about the way she laughed too long at Ryan's jokes, touched his arm when she spoke to him. I'll check, I said, keeping my voice light. Would you mind getting Caroline a drink? I'll be right back. I made my way through the crowded ballroom toward the French doors leading to the terrace. As I approached, I grabbed a champagne flute from a passing waiter, needing something to steady my nerves. Through the glass doors, I could see people gathered in small groups, enjoying the warm evening air. And then I saw them. Ryan stood in a secluded corner of the terrace, his back to me. His arms were wrapped around Vanessa, whose face I could see clearly over his shoulder. Her eyes were closed, her expression one of such intimate contentment that my stomach lurched. They weren't kissing, but somehow this embrace seemed even more damning, full of familiar comfort and unspoken history. I pushed open the door, the sudden noise causing several heads to turn. But not Ryan's, not Vanessa's. They remained locked in their private moment, oblivious to my presence. Time seemed to stretch and contract simultaneously. I could hear my heartbeat thundering in my ears as I moved toward them, each step feeling like I was wading through cement. Fragments of conversation from the past few months suddenly rearranged themselves in my mind. Ryan's late nights, his distraction, the new password on his phone. The Montauk suggestion, where he knew we couldn't go because of this gala. The expensive dress, a guilt purchase. I stopped a few feet away from them, close enough to hear Vanessa murmur, "I've missed this. Missed you." Ryan's response was too low for me to catch, but I saw his hands tighten on her waist, drawing her closer. The champagne flute in my hand felt suddenly heavy. Without conscious thought, I let it slip from my fingers. The shattering glass and splashing champagne created an instant tableau of frozen shock. Ryan spun around, his face draining of color when he saw me. "Eliza?" Vanessa stepped back, champagne dripping from her silk dress, but her expression wasn't embarrassment or guilt. It was annoyance at the interruption. I didn't speak. Instead, I straightened my spine, lifted my chin, and walked away with measured steps. Behind me, I could hear Ryan calling my name, his voice growing more desperate with each repetition. I pushed through the crowded ballroom, nodding politely at familiar faces. When I reached the grand staircase, I descended with deliberate grace, feeling dozens of curious eyes on my back. Outside, the night air hit my flushed skin like a slap. I walked to the valet stand, gave them my ticket, and waited. My phone buzzed repeatedly in my clutch, but I didn't check it. "Eliza!" Ryan's voice came from behind me. "Wait, please. It's not what you think." I turned slowly, meeting his panicked gaze with a calmness I didn't feel. "Isn't it?" "No. Vanessa and we were just talking. She's going through a hard time with the divorce and—" "Stop," I said, my voice low but firm. "Don't insult my intelligence." Ryan ran his hands through his hair, his composure cracking. Okay, but it's not— We haven't what, Ryan? Slept together? Is that the line you haven't crossed yet?" I laughed, the sound brittle even to my own ears. "Does that make it better? That you've only been emotionally cheating on me?" "I ended it," he said suddenly, desperately. "Tonight. That's what you saw. I was saying goodbye." The valet pulled up with my car. I took the keys, tipping him generously. "Eliza, please. Let me explain. Let me drive you home." I opened the car door. "I'm not going home." "Not tonight. Where are you going?" Panic edged his voice. "That's no longer your concern." I slid into the driver's seat and closed the door, starting the engine before rolling down the window. "Don't follow me, Ryan. Don't call. I need space." "For how long?" His voice cracked. I met his gaze one last time. "I don't know." As I drove away, I watched him shrink in my rearview mirror, a solitary figure in a tailored tuxedo, standing beneath the elegant portico of the Addison Hotel. For the first time since I'd met him, Ryan Bennett didn't look confident or charming. He looked lost. I drove aimlessly for almost an hour, my mind racing through the past few months, looking for signs I'd missed, conversations I'd misinterpreted. Eventually, I found myself outside Caroline's apartment building. She answered the door in pajamas, her face creasing with concern when she saw me. "What happened? You disappeared from the gala." I stepped inside, the careful composure I'd maintained crumbling at last. "He's been lying to me, Care, all this time." Caroline listened without interruption as I recounted what I'd seen, what I'd heard. When I finished, she disappeared into her kitchen and returned with a bottle of whiskey and 2 glasses. "That absolute bastard," she said, pouring generous measures for both of us. I could kill him with my bare hands. The whiskey burned my throat. I keep thinking about all the times he reassured me, looked me right in the eyes and lied. "What are you going to do?" I shook my head. "I don't know. I need to think." My phone buzzed again. the 14th missed call from Ryan according to the screen. This time, he'd left a voicemail. Caroline watched as I hesitated over the play button. "You don't have to listen to it now," she said gently. "I know." I pressed play anyway. Putting the phone on speaker, Ryan's voice filled the room thick with emotion. "Eliza, please call me back." "What you saw? It wasn't... I've made a terrible mistake, but I love you. I've always loved you. She means nothing to me? Please come home so we can talk." "I'll tell you everything, I promise," Caroline snorted. "She means nothing to him." The oldest line in the cheater's handbook. I deleted the voicemail and turned off my phone. "I need to sleep. Can I stay here tonight?" "Of course. Stay as long as you need." That night, lying in Caroline's guest bed, I stared at the ceiling and thought about the woman I'd been just hours earlier, confident in her beautiful dress, excited to see her husband, secure in her marriage. How quickly certainty could dissolve into doubt, love into betrayal. In the morning, I woke to the smell of coffee. Caroline sat at her kitchen counter, laptop open in front of her. "I called in sick for you," she said, pushing a mug toward me. "And I've been doing some research." "Research?" She turned the laptop to face me. On the screen was a consultation page for a divorce attorney. "Just in case you decide to go that route." I took a sip of coffee, trying to process the word divorce. It seemed both extreme and utterly rational. "I need to talk to him first." "Here is explanation." Caroline's expression hardened. "Why? So he can lie to you again? You saw them, Eliza." "I know, but..." I struggled to articulate the confusion swirling inside me. 8 years, Care. I can't just throw that away without at least hearing him out." She sighed but nodded. "Fine, but not at home. Meet him somewhere public, where he can't manipulate you with tears and promises." I turned my phone back on and was immediately bombarded with notifications. 27 missed calls, 14 voicemails, 32 text messages, all from Ryan. The texts ranged from desperate pleas, "Please come home, I'll explain everything," to bargaining, "I'll do whatever it takes," counseling, anything, to self-flagellation. "I hate myself for hurting you. You deserve better." I opened a new message and typed, "I'll meet you at Harrison's at 2 p.m. Don't be late." Harrison's was a quiet cafe near my office, neutral territory where we'd be unlikely to make a scene. His response came immediately. "I'll be there. Thank you, Eliza." I spent the next few hours pacing Caroline's apartment, rehearsing what I would say, imagining his explanations, preparing my responses. By the time I left for Harrison's, I felt hollowed out, emotionally exhausted before the conversation had even begun. Ryan was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups of coffee. He stood when he saw me, dark circles under his eyes matching my own. "You came," he said, relief evident in his voice. I said I would. I sat down, maintaining a physical distance that mirrored the emotional chasm between us. Ryan pushed one of the coffees toward me, prepared exactly how I liked it, with oat milk and a sprinkle of cinnamon. Such a small thing, this knowledge of my preferences, yet it made my throat tighten with unexpected emotion. "Eliza, about last night. How long?" I interrupted, needing to control the conversation from the start. Ryan's gaze dropped to the table. 4 months. The timeline hit me like a physical blow. 4 months. Nearly half a year of deception, covering the period when I'd first noticed changes in him, when I'd directly asked if he was having an affair and he'd denied it to my face. And Vanessa? Was she the first? His head snapped up. "The only." "I swear, Eliza, there's never been anyone else. What happened? What did I do wrong?" "Nothing," he said quickly, reaching for my hand across the table. I pulled back before he could touch me. He let his hand fall, rejected. "You did absolutely nothing wrong. This is on me. All of it." "Then explain it to me, Ryan. Make me understand how my husband, who promised to love and honor me, ended up in another woman's arms." He took a deep breath. "It started at the firm's Christmas party. You couldn't come because you had the flu, remember?" I nodded. The memory of those miserable days in bed while Ryan attended the party without me suddenly taking on new significance. Vanessa was there without Daniel. They were already having problems. We talked, drank too much, shared an Uber home, and slept together. I finished flatly. Ryan closed his eyes briefly. Yes, in our bed? No, God, no. Never at home. As if that made it better somehow. It was a mistake. A terrible mistake. I woke up the next morning sick with guilt. I told her it could never happen again. But it did. He nodded, shame etched into the lines of his face. She called me a few weeks later, crying about Daniel, about the divorce. I met her for coffee just to talk. But one thing led to another and... He trailed off. And you started an affair. I told myself it wasn't really cheating because I loved you. Because I never stopped loving you. I know how ridiculous that sounds now. I stared at him, this man I'd shared my life with for 8 years, suddenly a stranger to me. If you loved me, you wouldn't have betrayed me. I know, he whispered. I know that now. Were you ever going to tell me? Ryan hesitated, and in that brief pause I had my answer. No, I said. You weren't. I was trying to end it, he insisted. Last night, that's what you saw. I was telling Vanessa it was over for good. And you expect me to believe that? After 4 months of lies? It's the truth, Eliza, I swear. Ask her if you don't believe me, I laughed bitterly. Why would I believe anything she says? You've both been lying to me, to Daniel too. Ryan flinched at the mention of his colleague. Daniel and Vanessa were already separated when it started, and that makes it okay? That you weren't the one who broke up their marriage, just took advantage of its ending? No, he said quickly. Nothing makes it okay. Nothing excuses what I did. I took a sip of my coffee, finding it had gone cold. So what happens now, Ryan? What do you want from me? Another chance, he said immediately. I know I don't deserve it, but I love you, Eliza. Only you. What happened with Vanessa, it was never about love. It was weakness, stupidity, selfishness. But it's over now, completely over. I'll do whatever it takes to rebuild your trust. Counseling, complete transparency, anything you ask. I studied his face. The face I'd woken up to for nearly a decade. The face I'd trusted implicitly. Behind his desperate sincerity, I could see the fear of losing me, of facing the consequences of his actions. But was there true remorse? Or just regret at being caught? I need time, I said finally. Away from you. To think about what I want. Of course, he said quickly. Whatever you need. You can stay with Caroline as long as you want. Or I can go to a hotel. I'll stay with Caroline for now. I'll let you know when I'm ready to talk again. Ryan nodded, his hands gripping his coffee cup tightly. Can I call you? Text you? No, I said firmly. I'll contact you when I'm ready. As I stood to leave, Ryan caught my wrist gently. Eliza, I am so sorry. For all of it. I love you more than anything. I looked down at his hand on my wrist, then back to his face. That's the problem, Ryan. I don't believe you anymore. The next 2 weeks passed in a fog of grief and anger. I took leave from work, unable to focus on creative strategies while my personal life was in shambles. Caroline became my fierce protector, screening calls, bringing me food when I couldn't muster the energy to eat, sitting with me through sleepless nights when memories and questions kept me awake. Ryan respected my request for space, mostly. He sent flowers twice, which Caroline promptly donated to a nearby hospital. He emailed once with a simple message. I miss you. I'm thinking of you. I'm here when you're ready. Midway through the second week, my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Vanessa Grant standing in the hallway. What are you doing here? I asked, too shocked to slam the door in her face as I should have. I need to talk to you, she said. About Ryan. I have nothing to say to you. She placed her foot in the door as I moved to close it. Please, Eliza, 5 minutes. Then I'll go, and you'll never have to see me again. Against my better judgment, I let her in. We sat in Caroline's living room, an uncomfortable silence stretching between us. I ended things with Ryan, Vanessa said finally. I raised an eyebrow. According to him, he ended things with you. The night of the gala, she had the grace to look away. We both agreed it was over. But I wanted to tell you, it wasn't just physical between us. He cared for me. A fresh wave of pain washed over me. And you came here to tell me this why? To hurt me more? To tell you the truth, she said. Ryan is trying to win you back with a story about a meaningless fling that he regretted immediately. That's not what happened. I stood up, my hands shaking. Get out! He told me he was unhappy in your marriage, she continued, ignoring my demand. That you were always working, that you'd grown apart. He said he was planning to leave you. I said, get out! My voice rose to a shout. Vanessa rose slowly, smoothing her skirt. I'm sorry for my part in hurting you, Eliza. I truly am. But you deserve to know who you're married to before you take him back. After she left, I collapsed onto the couch, my mind reeling. Had Ryan really said those things about our marriage? Had he really planned to leave me? Or was Vanessa lying, trying to ensure that if she couldn't have him, neither could I? I called Morgan, the one person besides Caroline who knew me well enough to give honest advice. She's messing with your head, Morgan said firmly after I recounted Vanessa's visit. Classic move. She lost, so she's trying to make sure you lose too. But what if she's telling the truth? What if Ryan was planning to leave me? Then why would he be fighting so hard to save your marriage now? Morgan countered. Look, I'm not defending what he did. It was inexcusable. But people make mistakes, Eliza. Terrible mistakes. The question is whether you can forgive this one. That night I couldn't sleep, Morgan's question echoing in my mind. Could I forgive Ryan? And even if I could, would I ever trust him again? In the early morning hours, I made a decision. I texted Ryan, meet me at our apartment tomorrow at noon. His response came immediately. Despite the hour, I'll be there. When I arrived at our apartment the next day, it was immaculate, cleaner than Ryan had ever kept it. Fresh flowers sat on the dining table. The scent of something delicious wafted from the kitchen. He'd been cooking, my favorite pasta dish, I realized. You're here, he said, nervous energy radiating from him. Can I get you anything? Coffee? Wine? Water? Just answers, I said, remaining standing despite his gesture toward the couch. Vanessa came to see me. Ryan's face paled. What? When? Yesterday. She told me some interesting things. That you told her you were unhappy in our marriage. That you were planning to leave me. That's a lie, Ryan said immediately, his voice firm. Absolute lie. I never said that. Never even thought it. She was very convincing. She's trying to sabotage us, he said, taking a step toward me. Eliza, you have to believe me. I never wanted to leave you. Never. I studied his face, searching for signs of deception. Then why, Ryan? Why risk everything we built together for her? He sank onto the couch, his shoulders slumping. I don't have a good answer for that. I wish I did. It wasn't love. It wasn't even particularly good sex. He looked up at me, his eyes wet. It was escape. From pressure at work, from the feeling that I wasn't living up to expectations. Yours, mine, everyone's. Vanessa made me feel uncomplicated. There were no expectations, no history, no real consequences. Until there were. His answer surprised me with its honesty. I'd expected more deflection, more blame-shifting. Instead, he seemed to be offering the raw, unflattering truth. I spoke with a divorce attorney last week, I said. Ryan flinched as if I'd struck him. Is that what you want? I don't know what I want, I admitted. I'm angry, Ryan. So angry I can barely breathe sometimes. You betrayed me in the worst possible way. You lied to my face for months. You made me doubt myself, my perceptions. I know, he whispered, and I'll regret that for the rest of my life. I finally sat down, though not beside him. I need you to understand something. If, and it's a big if, I decide to try and work through this with you, things will never be the same. I can't be the trusting wife I was before. I won't check your phone or follow you around, but I will need complete transparency. Counseling, both couples and individual for you. And at the first sign, The first hint that you're hiding something from me again, I'm gone. No discussion, no second chances. Hope flickered across his face. Does that mean you're willing to try? It means I'm thinking about it, I corrected. I haven't decided yet. What can I do? To help you decide? I considered the question. Give me your phone. Without hesitation, Ryan pulled his phone from his pocket and handed it to me. The passcode is 0214, your birthday. I took the phone but didn't unlock it. Have you deleted your conversations with her? No, he said. Nothing. It's all there. Every message, every call log. I placed the phone on the coffee table between us. I don't need to see it. I just needed to know if you would give it to me. Relief washed over his face. Anything, Eliza. I'll do anything. I have one more question, I said. Did you buy that dress for me because you felt guilty? Was it some kind of preemptive apology for what I might discover at the gala? Ryan's expression crumpled. Yes, he admitted. I saw it and thought how beautiful you would look in it, and then I felt sick about what I was doing to you. I thought maybe if I could make you happy in other ways. I nodded, appreciating his honesty even as it hurt. I'm going to go now. I need more time. Can I call you? He asked, the same question from our cafe meeting. This time I hesitated before answering. Yes, not every day, but yes. As I moved toward the door, Ryan spoke again. Eliza, I know I've said this before and you have no reason to believe me, but I love you. Only you, always you. I turned to look at him one last time before leaving. I believe that you think you love me, Ryan, but love without respect, without honesty, that's not the kind of love I want. 3 months later, I stood on the terrace of the Addison Hotel, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. The same terrace where I'd discovered Ryan's betrayal, though it felt like a lifetime ago now. So much had changed since that night. After weeks of careful consideration, countless hours of therapy, both individual and with Ryan, and soul-searching conversations, I'd made my decision. It hadn't been easy. There had been days when forgiveness seemed impossible, when the pain of betrayal felt too raw to move past. There had been nights when I missed him so desperately that taking him back seemed like the only option, regardless of what he'd done. In the end, the decision came not from a place of emotion, but from clarity. I deserved better than a relationship built on lies and betrayal. Ryan might truly love me, might truly regret his actions, but some wounds cut too deep to heal properly. The trust that had been broken couldn't be repaired, not completely, not in a way that would allow me to live without doubt shadowing my happiness. 2 weeks ago, I'd filed for divorce. Ryan hadn't contested it, hadn't tried to change my mind. He'd accepted my decision with a sad dignity that, ironically, had made me respect him again. Just a little. I thought I might find you here, a voice said behind me. I turned to see Morgan approaching, elegant in a silver gown. The Addison's charity gala had become an annual tradition for us. Though this year I attended not as Ryan Bennett's wife, but as Eliza Walsh, newly independent. Just getting some air before the speeches, I said, smiling at my friend. Morgan leaned against the terrace railing beside me. You okay? Being back here, I mean, I nodded. Surprisingly, yes. It feels, I don't know, cathartic somehow. You look good, Eliza. Happy. I am, I realized, the truth of it settling in my chest with unexpected warmth. Not all the time, but more often than not these days. Morgan squeezed my arm affectionately. I'm proud of you, you know. The way you've handled all of this. I smiled, thinking back to that night, to the woman who'd straightened her spine, lifted her chin, and walked away with her dignity intact. She had been stronger than I'd known, that woman. She'd found a path forward through betrayal and heartbreak, not by hardening her heart, but by valuing herself enough to demand better. Come on, Morgan said, linking her arm with mine. Jessica Westridge just arrived, and she's been dying to talk to you about heading up the new campaign. I took one last look at the spot where I'd seen Ryan and Vanessa embracing. The memory no longer cut as it once had. It was just a moment now, Painful, yes, but no longer defining. As we turned to rejoin the gala, the door to the terrace opened. Ryan stepped through, stopping abruptly when he saw me. He looked good, thinner perhaps, but healthy. We hadn't seen each other since signing the preliminary divorce papers. "Eliza," he said, his voice soft with surprise. "I didn't know you'd be here." Morgan's arm tightened protectively around mine. "We were just heading inside." I patted her hand reassuringly. "It's okay, Morgan. Give us a minute." She looked between us uncertainly before nodding. "I'll be right inside if you need me." When she'd gone, Ryan and I regarded each other across the terrace, the space between us charged with history. "How are you?" he asked finally. "I'm good," I said and meant it. "You? Getting by?" He hesitated. "I saw your new campaign for Westridge. It's brilliant. Thank you." I smiled slightly. "I heard you're moving to the Chicago office." He nodded. "Fresh start. It seemed like the right move." He took a step closer, though still maintaining a respectful distance. "I want you to know, Eliza, I understand why you made the choice you did. I don't blame you for it. Not even a little." Something tight in my chest loosened at his words. "Thank you for saying that." "I'm sorry," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "For everything. For not being the man you deserved." I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time in months. The man I had loved, had planned to spend my life with. Despite everything, I didn't hate him. That realization came as a quiet relief. "I hope you find happiness, Ryan," I said sincerely. "I really do." He nodded, blinking rapidly. "You too, Eliza. You deserve it more than anyone I know." As I turned to go, he called after me softly. "For what it's worth, I still think you're the most extraordinary woman I've ever met." That part was never a lie. I paused, looking back at him over my shoulder. "Goodbye, Ryan." Inside the ballroom, the lights dimmed as the charity auction began. I found Morgan at our table, her expression questioning as I sat beside her. "Everything okay?" I reached for my champagne flute, raising it slightly in a private toast to new beginnings. "Yes," I said, the truth of it settling into my bones. "Everything is exactly as it should be." As I sipped my champagne, I caught my reflection in a nearby mirror, shoulders back, chin high, eyes clear and focused on the future. Not just surviving, but thriving. Not just a woman who had walked away from betrayal with her dignity intact, but one who had emerged stronger, wiser, more certain of her worth. A queen indeed.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.